Good evening, and welcome to the Select Board meeting of October 16th, 2023. We're starting at 6 p.m. Before we get into our agenda, I would like to have a moment of silence for our retired firefighter who died last week, John Ted DiPaolo. He was died a little too early, I guess, and he fought the good fight. So just a moment of silence for him before we start our meeting. Thank you. Again, before we start our new agenda, I'd like to have a motion to sign the signing of the warrant.
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to sign the warrant.
I would second that, Mr. Chairman.
And I make that unanimous. The next order of business is approval of the minutes of a regular scheduled meeting of October 2nd, 2023.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of October 2nd, 2023, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I would second that, Mr.
And I make that
Chairman.
unanimous. Next order of business is approval of our executive session minutes of October 2nd, 2023.
I make a motion we approve the executive session minutes of October 2nd, 2023, Mr. Chairman.
I would second that as well, Mr. Chairman.
And I make that unanimous as well. Next on our agenda is a public hearing, and we have a public hearing tonight. It's a request from Sonesta Select Boston Milford for a motion to approve an amendment to its in-holders all alcoholic beverage license for a change of officers, directors, LLC managers, and change of on-site manager. The new manager will be Sean Wilson, and Sean is here in case we have any questions or concerns for him as well. Going through the application, we find that everything is in order. We'll first look at the department heads. The building commissioner says that everything is IB zone, it's allowable use. A3, RI use, and occupancy load is 828, and the building is accessible. Town planner is okay, no changes in actual use. Tax collector, no outstanding taxes. Town treasurer has no objections. Fire chief has no objections. Police chief has no issues. And the Board of Health has no issues. What they want to do is change the 3 existing offices and add 3 new offices. I guess that's sometimes that these corporations would do. Again, they are going to have a new manager is Sean Wilson, who's here just now. And everything else seems to be in order. All paperwork is in order. And just to remind, this is a corporate request, and the corporation officers are satisfied with this application as well. So do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we approve the transfer of management for the in-hold all alcohol beverage license. It's very common with corporations such as this. And Sean, welcome to Milford.
Good luck to you.
And I would second that as well, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
And Sean as well, good luck.
And I make that unanimous. Thank you. Thanks, Sean. Next on the, excuse me, before we end this, too, where it is a public hearing, do we have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding, from the public regarding this matter? Nothing, nobody here? Nobody online or on screen? No? Okay, thank you. Motion and approval stands as is.
2 chiefs, okay?
And you guys, yeah, I just read it. I did say no issues. No issues. Next on the agenda is a scheduled appointment, and this is a joint meeting with the trustees of Vernon Grove Cemetery, and it's going to be for an appointment. And just to read the note from Ricky to us, as the board knows, there are 2 vacancies on the trustees on the Vernon Grove Cemetery. Notice of the vacancies was posted as required by Mass General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 11. A joint meeting of the trustees of Vernon Grove Cemetery and the Select Board was posted and is scheduled for this evening, Monday, October 2nd, 2023 at 6 p.m. We received 4 letters of interest for the position. Again, the individuals are here. It's going to be a joint meeting. Just a little comment, too. Again, I really appreciate, what the trustees do. Believe me, I mean, it's just an honorable responsibility that you have to more or less ensure that the loved ones, the deceased loved ones of those are well maintained and respected. And, you know, just as I said, I read something too where Ben Franklin says, you show me your cemeteries and I'll show you what kind of people you are. And I guess we are good people because going into that cemetery, it's just well maintained and done well. And myself and my two colleagues really respect what you do. Thank you. And to become a member of this, of the trustees is a privilege as well. So did you have a chance to discuss your position with the applicants?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So,
This needs to be done by motion, okay?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I'd make a motion that we appoint Charlie Scaff and Paul Busclair, and I welcome, without a second, anyone else raising any other names.
Anybody else have any other candidates you'd like to request? Yes?
I make a motion for Charlie Scaff and Mike Lenza.
Okay. Any other member of the trustees?
I concur.
You concur? Okay. Got three, and three here. Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would seek a motion. I would make a motion we appoint Charlie Scaff, given that at least
Yeah.
a number of members have made mention
Sure.
to one of the positions. I'm not sure what the terms are.
The terms would be that
Just to the
once,
subsequent election.
yeah, once Charlie's appointed, he'd have to run for the.
So both of them are the same election date?
Yeah, the same.
I'll double check that, but I
That'll be
believe
April
they
2nd.
both get put on the ballot.
I have it here.
And then once that's done, too, we also have to have a vote to place these positions
Yes.
on the ballot.
On the ballot, yes. So I would make a motion that we appoint Charlie Scaff to the Vernon Grove Cemetery.
Do I have a second?
I second that
Second.
motion.
Chase, who second?
Yep.
Chase?
And we have to vote.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Usually roll call, I think.
Has to be roll
Roll call, Chase?
Yeah. Just, yes, get a verbally answer.
Yes? You're
Yes.
gonna-
Favor? Yeah.
usually.
Yes.
Ron Gray.
I know. Sir?
Fred?
Fred?
Fred Elliott, yes.
Yes. Tom?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay, so unanimous by roll call vote, Rick.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'm Phil Greenstein, I'm the cemetery administrator. Just for, if you'd like to have
Yes.
what the seats are that are available.
Sure.
Right? So, one of the seats expires in 2024.
Okay.
The other one expires 2025. If whoever is appointed wants to continue on, they would need to, pull papers in January.
Right.
One would be a 3-year election, the other one would be 1 year.
1 year.
So I would amend the motion and have Charlie Scaff serve the 2025.
Right. Okay. Everybody approve of that?
Yeah, I second
It's
that.
the Same
Yes.
roll call for that too, Rick.
Yeah. So it has to be seconded and approved and
Yeah, Michael, second that?
I would second that, yes.
We all, we still got to do it, okay.
Chase Velosa, yes.
Ron?
Ron Gray, yes.
Rally?
Fred Elliott, yes.
Tom?
yes.
Michael?
Yes.
And myself is yes, too.
6-0.
So unanimous by roll call vote as well. Okay, so we have one, okay? And right now, if we, let's say I went with Paul Busclair, it'd be a 3-3 tie anyway, so what do you guys want to do?
Well, it'd be 2-2, and then it's up to the majority. So
We have a budget.
So, I'm in favor of Mike Lenza.
Had a motion?
now, well, the motions are, so I make a motion, let me make a motion for discussion purposes
Yep.
as it relates to Mike Lenza. So that way people can have discussion, Mr. Chairman.
You should, yeah.
And then from there, we can see where things might shake out. If others have a different view, then we can do the same with Paul Busclair and go from there.
reason for,
So motion's made, now we can discuss.
yeah, a motion's been made in second
Right.
for Mr. Lenza.
Discussion purposes.
Now, for discussion purposes. Discuss why you would like him?
We interviewed him.
we
yeah.
interviewed him.
He came in, was it last week? We talked to him, right?
Last meeting.
I was thoroughly impressed by this man, and I mean, we didn't get to interview Paul. I know Paul. I'm just going by the information in front of me. Charlie, we interviewed Charlie, and
No, excuse me, Chase, was Paul asked to be interviewed?
well, I don't know what,
Well, let's deal with Mike Lenza. So tell us why.
He has
He's your guy.
municipal experience.
he was
Worked in
a
the city of Waltham.
city manager for Waltham for
The
30,
tax collector.
40 years.
Accountant and tax collector. Also-
Yeah.
Also well-versed in budgets,
Absolutely.
Very well versed.
Okay.
so. He's here, he's got grandchildren in the area, not that makes a difference, but he wants to he wants to give back to the town.
Sure.
He's in the area, he's basically retired, so he has the time.
So my sense is that the majority of your board at this point favors him.
Yes.
That would be correct.
I make a motion that we appoint Mike Lenza.
I would second that, Mr.
And
Chairman.
I gladly second that, too, because like I said, if your other committee, trustees who should be working with this fella, you know what you need presently, and you want to know what you need in the future, and I definitely agree, and I appreciate your interviews as well, too. That means a lot to us as well. It gives us more confidence when we make our appointments, and I vote for that, too. Same with Chase,
Chase Velosa, yes.
Ron Gray,
Ron,
yes.
and Mr. Elliott.
Fred Elliott, yes.
Aye.
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 Aye. And same with the Board of Trustees, too.
Yes, so those are the appointments, and he would be the,
What was his term? Phil?
24.
2024.
They have to run anyway, but yeah.
Right. Very convincing, thank you. That was good.
you gentlemen, you really did the right things.
You did.
To get to where we should be.
Right.
And good to see you, Chase, good to see you. You're on.
Continue to do the good work you do, I'll tell you. Thank you. It means a lot to people, it really does, and it's underestimated, but you're like the unsung heroes, you know what I'm trying to say? It's something that you don't really see all the time, but we much appreciate it, really do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It really comes down to respect, so that's the bottom line. But that's it.
Good night, good evening.
Very much. Have a good
Thank you,
night.
thank you.
Take care.
Good to see you, Ronnie.
Yeah.
Next on the agenda is another scheduled appointment with our Milford Police Chief.
Yeah.
In a letter that he wrote,
I think we're going to talk about Bassett Drive first, right?
Robbie wants to, excuse me, Chief Tassino wants to take care of, and we should agree, there's a signage request for Vassar Drive.
oh, okay, I'm just,
Kill two birds with one stone, do that quickly, and then...
Do you have anything else?
okay, I'm
No.
sorry, it was my fault.
Yeah, he does,
I
but he has number 9 as well, Rick.
I went too
Okay,
ahead.
too, yep.
So if we-
I went too ahead, yeah.
Excuse me, no, if we deal with new business, what they're saying is so that the chief can leave. Because I have to recuse myself on the matter you're bringing
I
up.
get you, okay.
So
yeah.
if we deal with new business, number 1 and number
Okay,
9.
that's what we'll do. Okay.
And I think those are the only ones you have, right, chief?
That are under new business.
Yeah, they're in
Yep.
business, yeah.
Yep.
On the agenda total, other than,
So right now, we're dealing with the Bassett Drive, right?
Right.
we'll do a Vassar Drive, and then
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that's number F1.
F1.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this is an email that I'm going to be reading from our Police Chief Robert Tazzino requesting to install 2 slow children at play signs at Vassar Drive. And this is what an email that Chief Tazzino wrote to our Town Administrator, Mr. Valani. Could you please ask the Select Board to approve signage on Vassar Drive? The signs would say, "Slow children at play." Requesting 2 to be erected. I'll be meeting with the crew to advise on the placement of the sign if approved. I think this is really something that we should approve all the time, because like I said, this, by having these signs up, Chief, that would more or less give people an opportunity to realize if they're going too fast and slow down, and realize that their children could be riding a bike on the side of the road or running across the street.
Yeah.
It'll make them more aware.
Yeah, to your point, Mr. Chairman, the issue is always with signs, right? You can argue the signs, and people say, well, they should know they should drive slow, or they should know they should be careful.
Right.
But, through the years, I can tell you that when you have some awareness, it really pays dividends. And I know, you're right, you're driving through a residential neighborhood, common sense says, hey, you got to be
Yeah, you
careful.
gotta be careful.
But when you see a sign, and, the sign's off to the side, and it's like,
Gives you a reason
kind
why
of
you
gives
gotta
you,
slow down.
gives you like a wake-up call.
Right.
And I think for something that's so easy to do, it's not that intrusive, like, why wouldn't we do it in such an area that has so many children over there, you know what I mean? And, we were talking earlier, and as time goes on, and if I can get more grants, I'd like to do stuff with other signs through town.
Right.
But this was a concern that was brought to me, and it's just something I think it's an easy fix to bring some awareness.
Very good, and I definitely agree. Any board member have any questions or concerns, or?
The argument is that, some, too many signs, people ignore signs and they get, filtered out. The fact is that where do most accidents occur? Within a mile and a half of your house. So who's speeding in that neighborhood? The very people that live there. Why? Because they know the territory.
Makes sense.
And they think that it's safe enough for them to do so. So to give them a warning, and that's usually what you're doing, I agree with Chief Tassino that it's a smart thing to do. I make the motion that we
I would second that, Mr. Chairman.
I make that
and
unanimous.
I would go on the recommendation of the chief.
Right, thank you. Thank you, Chief, for that, too. Good recommendation, and thanks. Then next on the agenda for our chief would be, skipping down to F9, and it's a request from a resident for a handicap parking space at an address at Mark Drive. And Chief Tassino is definitely in agreement with this request. There's a letter here, but the letter just simply states the particular individual has health and mobility issues.
Absolutely.
And for her privacy, I'm not going to go read all
Yeah,
that.
no, and I wouldn't, but, yeah.
But again, it's something that we'd like to be in compliance with the ADA regulations.
Absolutely.
And do whatever we can for this individual.
Absolutely, and I think it's not only the right thing to do, it just makes sense. This person can't find parking, and I think there was a time when, there wasn't an issue, but now it's an issue for this person. And it just makes sense, and I believe, and I defer to the legal wisdom in the room, but I think there's an ADA compliance issue that we almost have to do that to be in compliance. So certainly, I recommend that we do this, and sooner than later.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We're legally required, but, morally and respectfully, we're required. And I don't have the chief putting one in front of my house because even getting up the driveway's enough. But I think that based on what I read and this person explained their circumstance, I appreciate it fully, and I make a motion that we approve this immediately.
Good. Michael?
I would second that, Mr. Chairman.
I make that unanimous. Thank you, Chief. So now the pleasure of the board is now to go to scheduled appointments then.
So
C2.
So, Mr. Chairman, the issue there is
get it, yeah.
I'm aware of some of what the chief has talked about in his memorandum, although it's concise, but nevertheless, my son Kevin O'Laughlin is a police sergeant in the police department. Thus, he could be a candidate for one of any of these positions.
He's a sergeant, yeah.
And as a result, the ethics law requires me to excuse myself, and I'm going to do that. So I will leave the room. I'm going to head outside, and someone can let me know when you're finished with this particular matter, and then I'll come on
You
back.
trust us? to let you know.
Either that or I'll go out in my vehicle and drive home, and you can have my minutes. I will not be shunned. Actually, I might be quite pleased.
Anyway, Chief, I read your letter to us. Michael, you too.
Hey, stop talking. I haven't let it.
Oh, okay. I just,
Did we turn the air conditioner on in here? What happened? It is on. I said, no, we turned it on.
Yeah, it's cold, huh?
Jacket. Does it freeze me out? Is that what you want me to do?
what's happening? Anyway, we have a police chief here, and he wrote a letter to us regarding the proposed Milford Police Command structure reconfiguration. And instead of reading it all in all that we should, it's just I want to hear from the chief itself. It's more or less our chief wants to reconfigure the command structure and including lieutenants. And I do remember, Mike, I'm sure you do too, during the interview process, I think all three of the final candidates did recommend that they would seriously consider reconfiguring the structure with lieutenants where we don't have any right now. The question that I have for you, Chief, is how would this command structure be different from what we have now than in what we had in the past? In other words, right now we have sergeants. Right. Now to add 3 lieutenants, how would that make a difference?
So, first of all, let's talk about how we got here, right? First of all, so I also went before the Personnel Board, right? So I explored this and explained everything to the Personnel Board.
I was going to ask you if you ever went to go to
So we
any
did,
other-
yeah. So I initially had a meeting with the Personnel Board just to get a sense of where to go with this and moving forward, and to kind of, for lack of a better word, put them on notice so we can have a dialogue right back and forth. And actually, in talking to them, they're like, well, we're kind of putting the cart before the horse. You should go to the Select Board first, then we'll go to Personnel.
Right.
And, work it out that way moving forward, all right? So, first, a couple things is, at first glance, it's important to know, and I'll explain these changes, it appears I can do this movement within my budget. So that's important. But if I can't, these changes wouldn't take place until next fiscal year, right?
Okay.
But there's a lot to do between now and then. We have to put a test together, we have a testing company come in.
Right.
So there's a lot of movement, a lot of moving parts, okay?
Right.
But to your point, we're really only creating 1 lieutenant position. What we're changing is 2 sergeants' positions. Case in point. For the majority of my time at the Milford Police Department, when I transferred in from New York City, a lieutenant detective commander ran detectives. And this makes perfect sense, because at that position, the lieutenant commander has to have interaction with sergeants, so it has to filter down. And it really, in my estimation, as the chief, it doesn't work just having that as a sergeant's position, because it's a paramilitary organization, so it has to flow like this, okay? So you have a lieutenant in that position who, with the other lieutenants that I want to make, will all be certified to do internal affairs investigations, which really gives us a strong foundation with police reform, okay? Because right now, you have your upper command staff, your deputy chief and chief, doing internal affairs.
Right.
And I think that's too big of a jump. Certainly, if there's an internal affairs investigation that involves a lieutenant, well, then a deputy chief
Right.
would do it.
Sure,
Right? Or
sure.
then up to the chief.
Right, they have
Okay?
a patrolman or another sergeant or whatever.
Would be the lieutenant's
Yeah.
purview
Right,
to
right.
start these investigations, okay? So you'd convert that sergeant detective position into a lieutenant. So that's not a huge jump in pay. That's not a quantum leap by any stretch, all right? Then your administrative sergeant's position that we currently have is a sergeant. I'd convert that to a lieutenant's position. Still, we're not adding a position, we're converting 2 of these sergeant positions.
Titles.
And again, the administrative lieutenant, here's the issue. The administrative sergeant's position that we have is responsible for evidence, is responsible for all court preparation, court appearances, okay, policy review and implementation. So here's the jam. If I'm the administrative sergeant and I go to another sergeant on patrol and say, I was up at court today, and the probable cause hearing for case XYZ, it should have been documented like this, we need to work on that. Not that it falls on deaf ears, but coming from a sergeant to sergeant, it's really not a direct order. It can't be, okay, because you're the same rank.
Same rank.
Same rank. So for us in the paramilitary structure, it needs to come from a lieutenant down. And this would be beneficial with something as simple as taking something into evidence. You think it's a simple thing, but these are the things that get challenged a lot when we get into the prosecution phase. Okay? How did evidence come into play? How did you store the evidence? Who had access to the evidence? Now, that's very important. All right? So to have a lieutenant who could report with the sergeants, that would be very important. And the last piece is the creation of a lieutenant's position. Now, this would be a creation of a lieutenant.
So that'd be the one new.
The actual one new position, okay? And now that lieutenant's position will be an operations lieutenant. Now, there's a lot of clandestine things that go on. You can infer to that with the way the world is right now. What we're dealing with at the Milford Police Department, these need to be plans. These need to be planned out initiatives about how you're going to address certain things, and they happen daily, from patrol to threat assessment, and I'll leave it at that, threat assessment, to things that, the parade, the fireworks, all these things, the day-to-day operation of the boots on the ground,
Yeah.
well, that needs to be mitigated by a boots on the ground lieutenant. And this lieutenant would be out there as well. This is not an office position.
I see.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is somebody who would be out there, who would, go to calls, answer calls. And there's a good transference of command if you had somebody, let's say, in a fictitious world, barricades themselves as a result of a domestic. Well, that happens a lot, believe it or not. Okay? These aren't things we talk about because they're domestic related. We can't. But they happen a lot. So to have a lieutenant who's in the field, that its immediate response is there, I'd say that's intricate. That's a pretty big deal. Then to direct resources from there, get a deputy chief in, or i.e. the chief, if it turns into that type of a long-term, whether it's a hostage situation or a call-out, all right? But to have a boots-on-the-ground lieutenant that can command sergeants, well, that's big to the organization.
Means a lot.
Yeah.
Means a lot. See, these
Yeah.
things that I didn't realize until, like I said, I think things where we had just sergeants now. Since I've been on the board,
Yep.
we had just sergeants.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think,
And
I
it's-
think Officer Fowler, Chief Fowler at
Yeah.
one time was the lieutenant at the time.
And he was lieutenant commander of detectives. For the majority of my time at the Milford Police Department. He was the one who ran investigations.
This is okay, yeah, so it's definitely something that, like I said, would definitely have some positive for the well-being and the safety of our residents. It'll definitely improve.
Yeah, and I think there are certain things you have to do with police reform, and, I know a lot of people would like us to go back 20, 30 years ago to the smaller community. We're not there.
We're not there.
We're not
Right,
there.
yeah.
And if we don't take proactive steps to increase our structure and make it firmer as far as when you implement policy and change, it really puts us at a disadvantage. And it's not a disadvantage that we don't want to be behind that 8 ball. We want to be out in front of things. We want to be proactive.
You want to be proactive
Okay?
instead of reacting.
Right, exactly. I don't think, hope is not a plan. You know what I mean?
No,
So,
no.
And again, from the money thing, Mr. Chairman, from the money side of it, pending approval from this body, then I'm going back to Personnel Board.
Right.
And then I'm going to sit down with Finance, right? And we're
That's
gonna-
what they asked you to do anyway.
That's right, yeah, and that's going to, we'll work out the minutia of it. But I can't remember who it was in the personnel, but it kind of didn't make sense. He's like, well, you're here talking about, do you have approval for this yet?
Right,
Well, no.
exactly.
Well, then-
Yeah.
so it was like the chicken or the egg thing. So that's the way
Yeah.
I'm going to address it. I'm going to go back to personnel,
Yeah.
depending on this board's
Sure,
vote.
sure. Michael, do you have any questions?
I
for
do,
the
I
chief?
do.
Yeah.
And Chief, thank you very much. And it makes perfect sense to me in our conversation that you and I had a while ago, and what you used as an example this evening is that with what's going on in the world, and there's a lot going on in the world right now, and there's some pretty catastrophic things, and I think it makes perfect sense. You have all sergeants, and you have something really serious going on in the community, and 2 or 3 sergeants show up and look at one another and say, well, who's in charge?
Charge.
Right, correct.
You don't have time to have that discussion.
Right.
So I agree with you. I think that, we create the position, you put a lieutenant on the ground, and everybody knows, the lieutenant, is in charge, has the final say, and he or she shows up.
Correct.
As you say, it's paramilitary, and the military's been around forever, and it runs very successful.
Yeah.
you
They
know?
seem to know what they're doing over there at the military. It kind of runs well, yeah, so,
It does.
yeah.
Yeah, so I would agree, Mr. Chairman. I think it makes all the sense.
Anything else, Chief?
No, that's it. I
Vote,
defer
Michael,
to...
to
I would make a
continue this
motion.
restructuring to go forward?
I would make a motion that we support the chief in his action and his request to reconstructure the police department in not creating 3 lieutenants' positions, reconfiguring 2 of the current sergeants' positions, creating 1 new
Exactly.
command lieutenant position to command the men and women that are on the road every single day.
Okay. I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
All set, Chief. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It was very informative and the best to you.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, Robbie.
Tell me to
Call him
stay
back.
out.
I'm only kidding.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
But my father always used to tell me, how come you always going to be so silly? All right, so we're all set with F1 and F9 and also C2, Michael.
Yes.
Okay? So we'll move on to F2 when Thomas comes back.
You want to do town administrator?
Where are we? Yes, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. Ricky, we'll go with you next, okay?
Whatever you'd like to do it,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, whatever you prefer. Yeah. Just 2 items, and they're both, actually, could have kept Robbie here, both police-related. Just some good news. The police department has received 3 fiscal year '24 state 911 department training grants. First is a Department Emergency Medical Dispatch Grant. It's a small grant. It's an amount of $299.70, and it'll help pay for the annual software licensing for the emergency dispatch medical personnel. The second is a Department Training Grant. That is in the amount of $55,177.52. This will help pay for online 911 training courses, certifications, continuing education, and payment of straight and overtime for other personnel to cover shifts for personnel during training. The final grant is the Department Support and Incentive Grant. That's in the amount of $111,259. And that is for enhanced 911 telecommunicator personnel costs. I want to specifically thank Chief Tassino. Chief Falvey might have also played a role here, and also dispatcher Lisa Trusas for help in securing these very important grants for Milford.
Very important. Very good.
Second grant is also with the police department. We received notice just the other day that from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security Office of Grants that Milford has been awarded again a fiscal year 2024 Municipal Road Safety Grant. This one is in the amount of $39,985. This grant program makes federal funds available to provide police departments substantial flexibility in addressing local traffic safety issues, allowing funding beyond enforcement to include equipment options and developing novel traffic safety programs. The goal of this program is to support traditional enforcement activities and develop new strategies to reduce roadway crashes, injuries, fatalities, and associated economic losses in Milford and all towns across Massachusetts. So I think that Chief Tassino was kind of intimating that hopefully he can start trying to access these types of grants to deal with traffic and related issues.
Makes a lot of sense.
So thank you to the police department.
And thank you, Rick. Thank you
That's
for
all
the
I
police
have.
department as well. Great job.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is old business. Anybody have any old business?
The only old business, Mr. Chairman, maybe we can deal with the correspondence later,
Okay.
was the issue of the seniors, the tax relief. So I'll wait.
Okay, yes, okay. Right, thank you for that. Michael?
I do not have
And
any.
I do not either. The new business, F1, we just took care of with the Vassar Drive. Next on the agenda would be F2, which would be the application for the Milford High School Boosters Club for a permit to obstruct for the annual Turkey Day 5K road race or walk on Thanksgiving morning, November 23rd, 2023, which will begin at 7:30 a.m. at Milford High School. The road race will turn right onto West Fountain Street, then left onto Congress Street, past Whittle Elementary School, to West Fountain Street, and finish back at the high school. The application is here. Everything seems to be in order. Chief Tizino did review it. And like I said, this has been going on for quite some time, and it's a great way to start off the Thanksgiving holiday. Anybody have any questions or concerns, or would like to make a motion?
Not at all. They run a great event.
Yeah, they do.
And they work closely with the police and fire department to make sure things are going to be running well, so that they pretty much stay to the sidewalk, maybe a little bit to the roadway. But a great event.
Sure is.
I would second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and I make that unanimous. Thanks. Thank you. From what I understand too, Ricky, the Milford High Boosters Club, their one-day liquor license is asked to be put on hold?
They've asked to withdraw that request. At this time, they're going to cancel that event.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda would be then the Conservation Commission. We have an opening, and there's an appointment that is requested by the chairman, Joe Zakili, who spoke to the rest of his committee. And after reviewing the current application pool, I would like to recommend Jeffrey Frederick to the Open Conservation Commission position. And it was addressed to Rick to please pass this on to the Select Board at their meeting. Anybody have any comments or concerns or questions?
None, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion that we approve Jeffrey Frederick following the recommendation of Joe Sikili, the chairman.
I would second that, Mr. Chairman,
And I
as
make
well.
that unanimous. Thank you. Good luck to this fella. Next on the agenda would be the memo from the town administrator regarding the recommendation for release of executive session minutes. So attach the executive session minutes to be released. Ricky, we all set with these too?
Yes, I did review. I also worked with Town Council Murray. We reviewed them. These can be released. They're typically collective bargaining matters that have been resolved, contracts that have been resolved, and maybe a litigation or two that's also been resolved.
So those would be the ones from, on the bottom here, from January 9th to on?
Let's see.
They would be released with the exemptions above it.
Right.
Okay.
Certain ones will be released in their entirety, others will be released. Remember, you do cover many issues sometimes
Sure,
in one
okay.
session. So paragraph 1 might be released, paragraph 2 might be redacted, for example.
Okay.
Yeah.
A motion to release these minutes as requested by our town administrator and town council?
I make the motion, and I really want to thank you, Rick, for we're finally catching up.
Almost there.
We're into 2023. I think we started at 2018 or 19, or before that. So
17, yeah.
I think the public has a right to have these minutes. The pending matters, they will receive. We do go back. I want people to know we do go back.
Each time, correct.
And when something's resolved, if it is omitted temporarily, it is just that, temporarily, but
Correct.
I'm glad we're catching up, and as we approve executive session minutes even this evening, I think that we should move forward, particularly with those that there are no exemptions, so the public has full access at almost the exact time. They have a right to it. I make a motion, we approve the memorandum from the town administrator.
Michael?
I would second that as
I make
well,
that
Mr.
unanimous too.
Chairman.
Thank you, Rick, for that too.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the special town meeting warrant for the board's review. Just a little note to myself, Rick, Finance Committee Chairman Al Carrera and Zach Taylor, Tuesday, October 10th. We did review this from the first to the very last one article, and again, there were some loose ends that had to be finished up on some that Albert and his committee will be meeting, I believe it's this week, Rick, right?
Wednesday, yes.
On Wednesday to final everything up and whatnot. But again, we're reviewed by myself, Rick, FinCom Chair Al Carrera, and Zach Taylor. Any member have any questions, concerns, or comments?
I do not.
Okay. You don't need a vote.
Make a motion, we approve the special town meeting warrant for October 30th, 2023.
I would second that, Mr.
And I make that
Chairman.
unanimous, thank you.
That doesn't have to be a roll call, right?
No, that does not, I don't believe, no, because you're not actually acting on the articles, just the warrant itself.
Next on the agenda would be a gift acceptance form for the Milford Youth Center in the amount of $1,500 from Imperial Ford Corporation. And we'll need a vote to accept this generous donation.
Make a motion that we accept the $1,500 donation from Imperial Ford Corporation, that we thank Kevin Meehan and the General Manager Mike Penner for their generosity to the youth center.
Thank you. Michael?
I would second that, Mr. Chairman. And
And I
again,
make
Rick, just the only question I have for you is, it says that there was correspondence attached, but there's nothing.
There actually was not any correspondence.
Yeah, I didn't see any even on the email.
Didn't see any on.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Again,
I will
to,
look for it, but I didn't.
that's
see
okay.
it. Yeah,
The Selectman
no problem.
Olaf's point, if we get, please
We all, yeah.
tell them.
We will acknowledge.
Thank you very, very much. It's
Absolutely.
greatly appreciated.
Very much appreciated. Also, another gift acceptance for our vote would be from the gift to the 4th of July Committee in the amount of $12,367 from Dean and Flynn, doing business as the Fiesta shows. And again, I guess this is a substantial, very generous donation. And also, I remember this same, was it Mr. Dean that was here at our meeting, Rick?
It was,
You know,
yes, it
even
was,
though the year before, last year, there wasn't a carnival because there was no place to have it, and he still gave a $5,000 donation.
That's correct,
So
yep.
again, a very generous man, a very business that we enjoy doing business with because he's so good to the town of Milford. Any questions, concerns? If not, I'll entertain a
I
motion.
make a motion that we accept the gift from Dean and Flynn, DBA Fiesta Shows, $12,367 for the 4th of July committee. And I'll say that, as you mentioned, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Dean was here with us, and very class act. If you remember, not only did he donate, he came back and paid us for the police services that
that's
we
right, he
had
did.
to add on.
Certainly did, yeah.
You know, that's a businessman that I can do business with any day. He's a real class act.
I would second that, Mr.
And I
Chairman.
make that unanimous, and thank you so much. Next on the agenda is invitation to speak. That's okay, thank you. Correspondence. We do have correspondence from our building commissioner, John Erickson, regarding department staffing. As you are aware, we have a vacant full-time local building inspector position posted over a month. To date, we had only one qualified applicant apply, who has since withdrawn his application. We have only had 2 other applicants, and neither have any required state certification. As I've stated many times in the past years, I feel a part-time position for construction code inspector results in an entirely different candidate pool that are seeking full-time positions. As an example, our current wire inspector, plumbing and gas inspector, our current part-time local inspector, and 3 previous local building inspectors, including myself, have indicated numerous times that they would have not been interested in a full-time position for a variety of reasons. As such, I would like to post a position as a part-time, either 19 or 20 hours per week, with the approval of the Select Board. While the full-time local inspector's position was implemented to fulfill the responsibilities of our former full-time zoning officer position, as the former employee rule was, they resigned over a year after they got on, this effort was not successful. The complexity of each discipline results in a difficult challenge to find an individual that will excel in both. That means the zoning issues as well as the construction issues. Given this challenge, I would also like to advertise a part-time assistant zoning enforcement officer at 19 to 20 hours per week with board approval. This position was established as a part-time position in 1993, and it wasn't until 2009 that it became full-time. So he'd like to reestablish this as a part-time position with board approval. Again, I did speak to John a little bit about this as well. Right now, through our task force, we're having a considerable amount of zoning issues that are arising, not only in the past year, but also in the past few months. Again, Milford is not the same town as it was a few years ago. It's just a lot of issues, and John is very overwhelmed. That office is very overwhelmed, along with the Board of Health and police and fire, who also are part of the task force. I would just recommend, I have no problem with this, but I'd like to have a few more questions answered, if it's okay with the board, to have Mr. Erickson in at our next meeting to explain this a little more.
I think it's something that's come up, though, several times, and it's not just related to the building department. I think it's related to employment generally. And we've seen it in a number of full-time positions here at Town Hall, professional positions. We've seen it with the personnel director. We've seen it in other departments. Hiring today is a very difficult process. It's not as it was before COVID, the pandemic. And I think that if Mr. Erickson feels that dividing the position because of the responsibilities is such that it makes sense, and it's still within his budget, it's still within the realm of what we expect him to do, I would ask the board to approve this. And because anything he does, as far as hiring someone, he has to come back to this board. This board makes the decision, and we can make the decision at that time.
You know what, Tom, I think that's okay, but I'd like to approve it, with the contingency of moving forward and going to HR or whoever he needs to get this approved by, or to advertise it, and to advertise the positions, but just have John in here to explain to us how zoning issues would be handled on a part-time basis, just so we'll get a better idea.
Very good.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I agree with both of you gentlemen. Selectman O'Loughlin, I agree with, and we've all said this in the past, that we need to, this is an example, we need to depend on our department heads. They're the people that are in the environment, they're working in it every single day. And I give Mr. Erickson a lot of credit that he's looking to recreate the position into a part-time position right now instead of a full-time position. So, I applaud him for being budget-wise in that not only is he feels that it's going to allow him more candidates because it's going to be a part-time position versus a full-time position, but also the town is going to save on that. But I go back to I strongly believe that it is our job to give the department heads the tools that they need to do their job. And this is something that Mr. Erickson, as the building commissioner, is recommending. He feels that it's necessary, and I feel that, and I can only speak for myself, I feel that it's my responsibility as a member of this board to support a department head in something that he feels is necessary. And so I would agree with Selectman O'Loughlin. I would vote in favor of Mr. Erickson's
Okay, but I'd also like to vote to move forward with the advertising, but also have Mr. Erickson at our next meeting to talk about how zoning issues will be addressed.
And that's fine, and he's required to bring back any candidates regardless.
Yes, this will be done through HR, through myself, and my office, so obviously... we
Yeah,
will-
just have Johnny come in, because I already spoke to him about this earlier.
Yeah, I told him that could be a possibility, yeah.
Thank you.
So I'd make a motion that we approve this with the understanding that he will come to to the next meeting, explain it further, so that they can move forward with the advertisements, because each day that we sit and wait, we're going to lose candidates, because the market out there, it's difficult to get people to come in and do this type of work. It's no different than many of our other departments. So, and we've seen that in that department, by the way.
Yeah, you have. And then again, it's a specialty. Zoning is a lot of enforcement, building, construction part, a lot of
I would second that.
technical aspects, and I make that unanimous.
We're probably the one community in this whole area, as far as police and fire, that aren't starving for people that are interested in coming to work. Why? Because this town has always supported public safety, and this is part of public safety.
Sure is.
Right.
Sure is.
So I would say to you that, you look around, and hiring generally is very, very difficult.
Right.
So I commend the police chief, the fire chief, and those that served before them, that they, along with the boards that sat here, built an environment where people want to come and work in the town of Milford.
Right.
Where they're leaving other places. So
Correct.
I say, as my colleague Mike Walsh said, that let's support him, and I agree with you, Paul. Anything he does, he has to bring to us, but to have him come in beforehand and give more depth to,
It's just that zoning is getting...
some more depth of what he's
Right.
trying to accomplish.
Correct, yeah. Like the pool.
And you have the background in the Board of Health, so you understand that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Next on the agenda would be the Milford Youth Center and their donations. And like I said, this everybody has this. I'm not going to read the whole thing. but-
Yeah, I'm trying to put some more correspondence in for the board and for the
It's-
public.
right.
I think it's something...
Most of these we accepted, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
but
and
it's
we
just
all
an
accept it,
up-
and
one
like I said,
update.
and hats off to her. Like I said, she's raising thousands of dollars to help these programs, these after-school programs, and these programs to help our young residents at such a vulnerable age to stay in tune and to stay focused. And like I said, it's money that we provide her with the space and the heating and the electricity and the salaries, but these extra programs that we have to offer most of these young individuals from donations that she actually goes out and gets. I mean, $8,000 alone from that 13th annual fundraiser at Craft Roots, $3,350 from summer camp scholarships that they gave out through private donations as well. Like I say, she does a fantastic job with that, and it makes it possible and more and affordable to continue to offer after-school programming in affordable summer camps for these young residents that we have, and I thank her for that.
Agreed.
Next on the agenda is an executive session, and I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of meeting with Fire Chief Mark Nelson and Deputy DeTore to discuss proposed staffing plans for the Milford Fire Department. We feel as though that this could be collective bargaining, where an open meeting may compromise the position of the town. We will not be coming back to our regular meeting anyway. So do I have a motion to go into executive session?
I make a motion that we go into executive session, Mr. Chairman, to discuss with the fire chief and the deputy fire chief staffing at the fire department as it might relate to collective bargaining matters, which are confidential in nature and would require the town to entertain the union in discussions.
Right.
I would second that, Mr. Chairman.
Motion moved by Tom and seconded by Mike. Roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion unanimously approved to enter into executive session and roll call vote. Motion to adjourn the regular session of October 16th, 2023 meeting.
Aye.
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 We will not
And
come
we will
back
not be
into it.
returning to regular session. Therefore, good evening, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.